I'm Russ Bray, and you're listening to the weekly Dartscast. 180!
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the weekly Dartscast, sponsored by Dartwolf. I'm Alex Moss with our second bonus episode of the week during the World Grand Prix. If you haven't already, go and have a listen to our first episode that we dropped out yesterday. That was our PDC World Youth Championship / Development Tour final weekend preview show, and we were joined by three guests: Keen Barry, Jurien van der Velde and Conor Heenan, all on that show. So go and have a listen to that one. But let's get into this show, and it's our chat with the Chief Executive of the PDC, Matt Porter. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the Chief Executive of the PDC, Matt Porter. Thanks for the time again, Matt. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, Alex. Good to speak to you again.
Good to chat. And yeah, the last time we spoke a little while ago, earlier on in the year in Minehead, and this is a year which has seen the PDC get back to the schedule like we used to, and we're now into October. How do you feel 2022 has gone so far for the PDC?
Yeah, I think it's been a good year, to be honest, particularly when you compare it to 2020 and 2021. We've obviously had a lot more normality. The schedule's returned pretty much to normal. Can't think of anything that's been affected really this year. We've obviously got a few things restarted again in their normal way, and we've delivered a full schedule. So it's been good for us to have a bit of a reset and take us back to where we probably were, back end of 2019, early 2020, before we had to make so many changes.
One of the big changes this year was the format for the Premier League, and it's been confirmed it's going to be staying for next year, 8 players again. When do conversations start about who's going to get invited, or is that something you hold off until the end of the year?
I mean, the players kind of set the conversations themselves, really, with their form. Generally, we don't confirm things until very late because, something dramatic could happen at Ali Pally or Minehead or somewhere like that, but even Milton Keynes. But essentially, it's an ongoing process. Obviously, the top guys get in on rankings, and then everybody else is in the mix, depending on how they perform, largely on TV over the course of the preceding 12 months.
More recently, we've seen the PDC stage their long-awaited World Series event in New York, an event which you said you were really proud to finally see happen. It's on the calendar again for next year. But what's been the impact that event has had on the American market? Have you noticed much more interest coming in?
Yeah, I think that's probably the single biggest moment of impact we've had in America and North America, really, including a lot of Canadians came down for it as well. It was a long-awaited event, and it was a real statement for us to put something on at Madison Square Garden. The players said how special they felt going out, being announced onto stage there, walking the same path that many famous boxers and, musicians and whatever have walked before. So it was a bit of a seminal moment for us, one that we tend to drop into conversations whenever we can because it's something we're quite proud of, and one we're very much looking forward to repeating again next year. We had a good reaction from the North American fans. It's the first time we've really done an event for North American fans. Obviously, everything in Vegas was kind of geared towards holiday makers with noon start and travel packages and things like that. But this was for locals, and they turned up in numbers to support us.
Well, we've given it another mention for you there, and we've also seen the PDC break new ground with the Women's World Match Play. And again, already confirmed for next year. We've got an expanded Women's Series next year as well. But what do you see as the next area for growing the women's game within the PDC?
Well, I think we've got to keep doing what we're doing at the moment, which is increasing the volume of players that are entering. We've seen numbers go from around 60 to around 100 this year. We've increased opportunities, for women to play on TV, which is important. I think it's important for aspiring female players not to just look at it and say, oh, well, Lisa and Fallon are going to qualify for everything, so there's no point in me entering. That's not what we want, and it's a little bit of the feedback that we've had. But we've seen from performances that other players have put in this year that isn't the case. And it's about giving them more opportunities, more platforms, more confidence. And then you'll see the standard improve, and then you'll see the number of winners increase. Lisa and Fallon have been relatively fortunate in that they've competed in and around the main circuit for a few years now. A lot of the other female players haven't had those opportunities, but now they're getting more and more familiar with playing under PDC conditions, and they'll grow into that. So we just want to see those numbers go up. We want to see female players comfortable in those surroundings and give them as many opportunities as possible to maximise their return from their darts careers.
Yeah, it's been good to see that grow, and lots of announcements in the last few weeks. The Premier League schedule for next year, that's out. A return to the O2 for the playoffs. I know this year the finals moved around a few times due to the restrictions, but are you keen to see the finals change location more frequently?
No, it's not something that we're hugely prioritising, if I'm honest. You know, the O2 has been the home of the finals for many years now. It's important that we keep the O2 a good distance away from Ali Pali in the calendar. It doesn't really make sense to do Ali Pali all over Christmas and then do the O2 in February. You know, it's a huge venue, there's a lot of tickets to sell. We want to try and, you know, split that as best as possible. I think it's an iconic venue, you know, a little bit like Madison Square Garden. If you're a winner on stage at the O2 Arena, you're following in some pretty big footsteps. So, you know, I've got no real ambition to regularly rotate the final location. If you look, we tend to rotate the opening night because I think that's another special night, and that's one that we can be a little bit more flexible with. But generally, the O2 is our preferred home for the final.
We've also seen the calendar revealed for next year, and scheduling wise, probably one of the most interesting changes was seeing 2 World Series events lined up for January. How did that come about?
Well, we're running out of slots. You know, I mean, the calendar's so busy. The biggest challenge we have is that there's only 52 weekends in the year. You know, and it's going to be important for players to manage their diaries and make sure that they maximise their ability to be at their peak, you know, as much throughout the year as possible, because otherwise they'll get burnt out. You know, so we're happy to work with players to manage their schedules because it will be intense. But in the same vein, there's a lot of rewards on offer. You know, so it's the upside of being a professional sports person. Talk to a tennis player or a golfer; they play all around the world every week of the year, and we want dart players to be able to do the same thing. So it's literally a case of saying, right, where can we get these events in? And as you've seen from the calendar, there aren't that many opportunities. We've actually, I think at the moment, we've got a spare weekend in October, which was kind of half deliberate because that is such an intense period as well once we come back from Australia and New Zealand. So we did want to give everybody a little bit of respite in the second half of the year, but there really isn't a huge amount of room to swing a cat in the rest of it.
Well, we've also seen Gibraltar drop off the list of countries hosting events on the Euro Tour next year, ending a 10-year run for them. We've still got 6 different countries in there, but were you close to adding a new country in next year, or how close do you think we are seeing a new country?
Well, we're always looking at it. I mean, I read a lot of comments about people saying, oh, it's just the German tour. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. Germany's a huge country. It's a massive darts country. An event in North Germany's got nothing to do with an event in South Germany. You know, if there was a demand for steel tip darts in France or Italy or Croatia or wherever, then, you know, we'd take a European tour event there. But what we're not going to do is take an event to somewhere where there's going to be 200 people sat in the crowd and create zero atmosphere. You know, you've seen the atmospheres that the Euro Tour can create. Belgium, Hungary, Prague. You know, these are now big, well-established events. So we always want to expand. We always want to explore new territories and find new markets. But it has to be the right place, not just somewhere gratuitous for the sake of it. You know, Gibraltar's had a good run. You know, we've had a great partner there in the government of Gibraltar, but it's obviously a very small territory, very small market, and you know the sort of general consensus after pretty much a decade, as you say, was, you know, it had a good run. Let's look to evolve it. So, you know, we will look to add new territories in the future, but it won't just be for the sake of it.
Let's get on to some listener questions, and whenever we get you on, we are inundated with listener questions, and a few of our listeners are obviously asking about the World Series announcement, and in particular the new event in Bahrain. I mean, what's been the general feedback that you've had on that one? Because we've seen a lot of talk about it on social media.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've had an approach from the Bahrain International Circuit, which is where they stage the Formula One race, another motor race in there, and they were keen to host an event. They'd seen the Dubai event a few years previously, they'd seen what we'd done in other parts of the world, and they wanted to stage one there themselves. So, you know, we're looking forward to that. It's a fantastic venue there. There's a great expat community. There's also a lot of interest. There's a Bahraini Darts Association. There were some Bahraini players playing in the Asian Darts Championship in Japan recently. And it's funny, really, because I met the guy who runs the Bahrain Darts Association, Arif Marud, in Dubai about 10 years ago. And he said to me, I'd love you to do an event in Bahrain. And I sort of said, yeah, okay, mate. You know, you kind of think, you know, I can't see no way in which that's ever going to come about. But it shows you how we've evolved as a global sport, in that there is now demand from countries like Bahrain to stage events. And, you know, it's the Bahrain Darts Association has got a huge number of local players that play. It's not expats. It's, you know, it's Bahrainis who play. And we'll be giving some of them the opportunity to play on stage and in front of the TV cameras. And that's an opportunity they would never otherwise have. So it's another new frontier for us. It's a part of the world we're keen to be back in, the Middle East, after a few years in Dubai. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Another question about the World Series. The IDL wants to know, is the World Series ever going to be a true World Series and go to South America?
Again, maybe, like the European Tour. Imagine if we rocked up in Paraguay tomorrow. What's the point? It costs us millions of pounds. There'd be nobody there. You don't just go somewhere because you don't currently go there. You have to go somewhere when it's the right place to go at the right time. I must have said this 1,000 times about the Rotterdam Premier League. People told us to go to the Netherlands with Premier League darts 10 years before we did. And we weren't selling any tickets in the Netherlands, for various events we were doing out there at the time. You go somewhere when it's the right time to go. South America is a very, very, very new market for PDC. We've got Mario Portela has a little bit of activity for us with a World Cup and a World Championship qualifying places, Diogo's father. And he's a great guy and he works really hard with people in Brazil and Costa Rica to put those events on. But that's as far as it goes at the moment. The amount of planning and work that goes into putting a World Series event on is phenomenal. And we're not going to do it just because we don't currently do it at the moment. So I'm never going to say never because, time has proven that anything is possible. But at the moment, there's, not really any reason to go to South America with a World Series event. And hopefully, in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time, I'll be saying something completely different. But as I sit here at the moment, that's the case.
For a second there, I thought you were inviting me on a holiday to Paraguay there. Understandable.
If you can find it on a map, then you're welcome to come along.
Happy days. Well, just looking at events that are currently going on that are coming up, and that's a busy time. And the next question, will the Grand Prix ever return to Dublin? And if not, are there plans for any other events in Ireland apart from the Premier League?
Yeah, we would like to do it, something else in Ireland, and obviously the City West was this well-established home of the Grand Prix, and it really wasn't our choice to leave there. It became a COVID centre for the Irish government for 2 years, and now is a Ukrainian housing centre for the Irish government for this year and next year. So that'll be 4 years since we'll have been to the City West by the time. Even then we don't know if we'll definitely have the opportunity to go back, but let's say we do. So it's kind of not really our fault that hasn't been an option for us, and there really aren't that many other indoor venues in Ireland that are suitable to stage a week-long darts event. You can't go to the Three Arena for a week; it's just too big, and there aren't a huge number of mid-sized arenas or conference centres that would work in Ireland. We have looked at a couple of places that were either booked up or not suitable, so we tried, and we'd definitely like to go back there in the future, but it's proving tricky at the moment.
Well, we've got the Grand Slam coming up next month, and we've seen that event change with invites for the players from the Asian Championship, the North American Championship. I know it's an event which gets a lot of debate on social media as well. Did you guys consider letting anyone in from outside organisations again this year?
Not really, if we're honest. We've always said that we would consider it, and we don't really feel that any other organisation at the moment is at a stage where they can deliver players who are worthy of a place in the event. We've got our own structure now, both here, a vertical structure with the development tour and the challenge tour, and overseas, with our regional tours, and we want to reward players who play in those events, which, if you remember back to the very early days of the Grand Slam, we used to do that back then. We've had Australian representatives, Americans in the Grand Slam before, so we're not, look, I'm never going to rule anything out, but at the moment, there's no compelling reason to put in a player from another organisation into what is one of our biggest events, because of the way that that side of the game has changed and the disparate nature of it at the moment. There's some people doing some good things, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're quite perhaps where, say, the BDO was 10, 12 years ago when it had a very decent top end.
Speaking of qualifiers around the world, of course, eyes are on the World Championship coming up very soon, and we know we've got the Ukrainian Qualifier that's coming for this year, but it looks like there's still one spot up for grabs. We're not quite sure what's going on. Matt wants to know, where's that spot going for the qualifiers?
We're still weighing up our options. There's still a few countries where, in different parts of the world where restrictions are still in place, Asia in particular. So we appreciate it is late, but we are spinning plates, and it won't be that long until we can confirm the last place. I'm not going to tell you now.
Well, another question comes in from one of the former tour card holders, Matthew Edgar. He says, does he see darts following the snooker, which is, of course, involved with Matchroom, in offering a guaranteed wage to its tour card holders, which they're now bringing in?
It's something we're aware of. Obviously, snooker, partly in the same office as us, so we're obviously aware of what they've done. I mean, the reason snooker have done that is because they've got such big gaps in their calendar where no players really have any opportunity to earn money. We're fortunate in that we don't have that. Our players have regular activity. We're looking to increase prize money again. We want to give players as many opportunities to earn a living wage as possible. It's not going to be possible for everybody because not everybody's good enough, and sometimes you do have to have a little reality check. If you've been on the tour for a few years and you're struggling to earn a living, you do have to say, is this right for me? But if you've got a sponsor or you've got confidence or ambition, then fair play, but it's something we're aware of, but there are also other ways to put money in players' pockets.
Another debate this year has been on the Euro Tour. John Thompson wants to know, there's been huge issues with buys on the European Tour this season. What are the PDC going to look to do to address this?
We're going to change the rules because we do not like these buys at all. It's been very frustrating having the late withdrawals, sometimes genuine travel issues, other times players just decide they don't fancy getting on an aeroplane that day, which is a shame because every time they make that decision, they are denying somebody else the opportunity to do so, and we don't want that going forward. So we've actually got a meeting in Leicester with the PDPA in a couple of days, and we will thrash out a rule that means that we really, really minimise the chances of us getting buys. We'll do everything we can to make sure there's 48 players at the starting lineup of every Euro Tour event next year.
That's good news. And two more before we let you go. Andrew Kinsman says, have you considered perhaps allowing first-year tour card holders to play on the Modus Super Series? I don't know if you've seen much of that, but during their first year on the tour, those are the players who need the most support, both financially and in terms of gaining experience on TV and the stream.
No, not really, because once they become a tour card holder, they've got 43 opportunities throughout the year. Well, actually 44 if you count the UK Open. So, no. If you become a tour card holder, then you're a professional player in the PDC, and that's the decision you've made, and that's what you're doing. You can't have the best of both worlds. There's good opportunities. If you don't want to be a tour card holder, you can go and play the Modus Super Series. You can play the ADC Steve Brown stuff. You can play WDF events. You can play UKDA. You've got loads and loads of opportunities. And when you become a tour card holder, you've also got loads and loads of opportunities, but they're PDC opportunities.
And the last one comes from Bill Richards, who says, does he think the PDC will ever appear on the BBC again?
I hope so. That'd be nice. It was a shame to lose the Champions League, and that was, again, a kind of COVID casualty. I know it was a little bit of a made-up event, but it did showcase the top players over a short period of time. What you're not going to get the BBC doing now is saying we want 14 days of darts in a row. They might want the odd weekend here and there, and we understand that, and we will always work with them. We've got a very good relationship with them, and we will always work with them to deliver that if they decide they want it. That's something that we would very much like to see happen.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for that, but without that, there's still plenty of darts going on for the rest of the year. Matt, it's a pleasure to chat to you. We appreciate your time as always, and best of luck for the rest of the year with the PDC and what else is to come as well.
Thanks, Alex. Always a pleasure, and thanks everyone for sending your questions in.
Thanks again to Matt for joining us on the show, and that's all the time we've got for you this week on the weekly Dartscast. Big thank you to our sponsor Dartwolf. If you want more dynamite darts content, head on over to dartwolf.tv. Give Dartwolf a follow at Dartwolf180, and we'll be back next week. Myself and Burton DeWitt will be recapping all the darts this week, the World Grand Prix, also be looking back at the final weekend of the Development Tour and, of course, the PDC World Youth Championship. So a busy show next week. Thanks, everyone, for listening to our two shows this week. Enjoy the rest of the week. As Burton would say, hang tight. And as I say, enjoy the darts.